Hi everyone, welcome back to the studio where even dreams believe. And today I'm happy to report that Miss Floof has joined us. Hey Floofy! Okay, she's going to fall asleep soon. Hopefully we would not have any disruptions during our video. Okay, so in our last video, I said that what we would do is we would start making cards. Now, card making I have done many different ways, and there are so many methods that you can use to make cards. So today I'm just going to show you one of the easiest ones for me is to do a continuous card, and then at the end when it's finished, just to chop it up, and then you have got your fronts of your cards. Okay, so let me share my screen and let's start. Okay, you'll also see that I've moved my camera angle a little bit so that I don't have to turn my back on you when I'm doing the video. So hopefully this is a better angle. Okay, so now what I have in front of me is watercolor paper. It was an A3 page, but I have just measured it roughly and cut it into 4 long strips. Okay, so this is what the height of my card would be, the height, and then I can decide how many cards I would like to make from that. So there are 2 types of cards that I have made in the past and that I really like to make. The one is a continuous landscape, where I love little houses. So most of my paintings somewhere features a little house, like a tiny house. Okay, and it's basically a landscape with little houses dotted everywhere that you can trim. The other one is more of abstract, just play with the colors and see what you get, and mark making. So it's 2 different types here that we can do today. Okay, so I have got my paper, just stuck on this is actually an A5 sheet that was laminated, and I usually put it under the glass when I do oil painting so that it shows white. That's just another tip for you. If you do oil painting and you have a glass palette where you mix your paints on, if you slide in a white paper underneath, then it makes a huge difference to see your colors if it is opaque and see-through and all of that. Okay, so now let's have a look. So for my first one, I'm going to start with ink. Okay, so this is just the Unipin. It is a Unipin fine line, but it is waterproof, it's bleed proof, and it is acid free. It's permanent ink. Okay, and it's the 0.5 size. All right, so I'm going to start with the one closest to me, and I am just going to play with my landscape. So it's going to be a long continuous landscape, and the reason I have put the masking tape on here is just to keep it flat for the process. Okay, what you can also do if you wanted to have not a continuous card, if you want to have each one end, then you can also put your masking tape down to divide it. So that is also another option. Maybe we can do that in the next one. Okay, all right, so now let's see here. I always have got the rolling hills So I love to make rolling hills. So let's just start. I'm just making the rolling hills. You can see it's just, I'm playing. I am having fun and I am playing. And if you make a boo-boo, like I went over through my line there, then it's okay. We will fix it. Okay. If you can imagine somewhere in the countryside with all the hills just rolling into one another, this is basically what I am aiming at here. Okay, so now I have got just a jumble of lines. These lines are going to form all the little hills and the valleys and everything. What I'm now going to do is I'm going to add my trees. Now you can remember in the painting that I used the old canvas with the little houses. In that one I also used the little trees. I love the little trees. So here is just an example of one that I just did on normal paper. This was actually a doodle. I had to concentrate while I was on a call, and we didn't have cameras, so I didn't have to be rude and sit and draw and doodle while I was on the phone. But this is what I came up with, and this is basically the texture, the different texture you can give on all the hills. This tree here, I've made it a very big one. It's very close to us. The background, the sky, so you can play around with whatever you want to do. Okay. So now here I am going to start to position some houses. Now here I see that there's a little bit of a boo-boo here, so let me just do that. Let's just work it in. So here in this little dip, I'm going to start with my first little house. Now I'm just making a tiny square. The door is just basically a dark shadow, and then I'm just putting on a little roof. Okay. I am happy to make a mistake and to just go over it. That's why I'm not sketching it out with a pencil first. You are welcome to sketch it out with a pencil first if you are afraid to do something that you don't like. Okay, so now always I have got my little trees accompanying my house. I like to work in uneven numbers if I put my trees, so it will usually be one tree, or it would be 3 or 5. Okay. So now, where else can we put? We want to remember, we want to have a little scenery going throughout the page. Okay, so maybe here, on this one here, I can have my little housey over here. Partly hidden behind this hill. And then we can have our little tree over here. And the trees are also hidden behind the hill. Okay, let's give it another window. So I'm just adding just the touches where it is going to go in. I will bring you closer before we start putting the paint down. So now I've got one card there. I've got one card there. Let's see if we can have two more. Okay, let's see. Now this one here, we can, I think we can start the trees here in the valley. Okay, so we'll start the trees here in the valley. And then we'll have the little house over here. Now these are just doodles, they are not perfect. They can be anything you want to. This one here, we can have an additional little house here. And the trees don't all have to be the same shape. You can use different trees. This is what I always tend to default to, is this type of tree that has got the, like a pencil tree. I don't know, even not sure even what the proper name is for them. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, and let's see, are we going to make a fourth one, or maybe we can squeeze a tiny one at the end? So that is also what you can do. Okay, so you can divide them however you want to. I'm going to put a house here. And this house is just going to have one big tree, and then we will put another house. Now I have got a very steep valley over here, and now I think that maybe I should just level it out a little bit to add my other house over here. So you can always adjust and add, and if you work with pencil, you can rub it out and change it just as you want, or you can just do it like I am doing, just wherever I want to put it down. Okay, let's give this house 2 smaller trees on the other side and 1 bigger one there. Okay, so now we have got basically the top section of our cards. We have got interest in. Okay, so now if I think, if I'm going to cut it over here, over here, over here, I think I'm going to maybe cut this one off just to make 4 even cards. Okay, then we can add extra detail here. So say for instance we have got a plowed field, or we have got maybe lavender fields, or fields full of flowers, or wheat, or vineyards. So we can imitate that here also. Okay, so let's see. So some of these we can give some texture to. So let's have a look here. If I, let me see which one I want to use here. If I use this one here, I'm going to give it some texture. I'm trying to imitate the rows of a crop growing here. Okay, so here you can see the rows of the crop. Now when we come to adding color, that would be very nice because we can do highlights and shadows on the same lines. Okay, so it doesn't just have to be a flat color. Okay, where else can I have some of that beautiful effect? Over here. Okay, let's pretend some of the farms grow a crop like oranges, so it would be smaller, rounder trees. So maybe we can have a few rows of small round trees. I think this one here lends itself to it. So let's see if we just make the little rows. So you can imagine what type of crop they are growing here. Okay, so there are a few trees over there. We can make more marks, like let's have a look if we have the longer lines that follows the curve. Maybe these are wheat or corn, or what other crops we can think of. Okay, look at that one, it looks fantastic. And the thing what I want to just bring home is that this is not a perfect picture. It's not 100% drawn properly. It has got a rough outline, and it shows that it was made by hand, especially in today's world where you are never sure if it is a AI generated item or if it is a real person that made it. And I know from all the years making birthday cards and special cards for all my friends and family, they really appreciate something that is made by hand because it is more thoughtful. They say it's more thoughtful, and also it's a tiny artwork. Okay, so let's have a look. What else can we do here? Let's follow this curve here, and let's make a different field over here. Let's follow it up to there. Now this one continues up to there. Okay, so that looks fantastic already. So let's see if we can maybe in the foreground, let's see if we can make another section over here. Okay, so let's just do that. So you can just go make sure that your lines don't all go in the same direction so that you can have a little bit of variety on the lay of the land so that you can see how the land is making a hill or how it is making a valley. Okay, like that. And then I think over here, let me just grab this picture here. Here I had just the different colors. I played with the different colors and the different textures. So let's see if we can have that as our, I'm slightly running out of ideas here now. Let's see here. So let's see. That one can stay one color because that's in front of the house. those two can stay a solid color. That one there can stay a solid color. Let's do some more things here. Okay, so now let's see. We are going to follow the contour of this hill. This also shows the ups and the downs of the hills. Sometimes when I go to the country, I see that the way that the farmers have plowed, it really shows all the ups and the downs. Okay, so let's have a look there. Okay, so now I think we have got enough things here. Let me just grab you to come a little bit closer. I hope I'm not going to make you seasick. Okay, so you can see there. Sorry people, I'm trying to show you without any there we go. That's a better view. Okay, you can see my lines are not perfect. My houses, some of them are quite skew, but it's fine. It's my picture, so it does not have to be perfect. Okay. Whoops. Are we on here? Yeah. Okay, let's see. All right. So now I'm just doing this to just make sure that there were no balls of ink maybe, and it's quite dry. Okay, fantastic. Now for the top one, I am just going to use some mark making. So I am just going to, let me think what I want to do. I'm just going to making random marks. Okay, just to give it some interest. All right, so now let's have a look. We are going to start with this one. Let's grab the brush. Okay, so now what I want to do is I am going to give it a background, a sky. So this is my clean water over here. I am just going to wet my paint again. I've got this little spritz bottle. It's just a bottle that I have recycled. It's full of paint. Okay, but it's just for water, just to spritz. Okay. All right, it's just easier to activate the water like that, the watercolors like that. Okay, so I am going to look for a phthalo. Okay, so now we're going to use this one as our cold color container. Okay, so now I'm just going to start adding the sky. And remember, you can, when it is dry, you can assess, and then you can always come back and give it more color or add something different. And I'm leaving it to make puddles if it wants to puddle. because that puddle will dry slightly darker than the rest. It gives it a natural sky look. Of course, I'm not going to keep it natural. I'm going to add some extra colors because sometimes I can see even purples in the sky. And why not? We can do it. It's our picture. Okay, going to park that one there for the meantime. Okay, so now I am just going to add some of my dark purple. Okay. I'm going to mix it over here. Let's see. I'm going to use one corner here. Bringing in some of the phthalo blue there. Okay. So now I'm just bringing this in here. It's going to be a nice and dramatic sky. That's also a cold color, so I would use the same rinsing bowl. Take another color here. Okay, I think that is a great start on our sky. Now something I really always do is I would leave the houses and the trees for last, and also the detailed things that are closest to me. I would leave them for last, because if you paint them now, they can actually get lost. I want them to pop out a little bit. Okay, so my trees and that I'm going to leave for last. Okay, so now let's see here. I'm going to start with some greens. I'm going to make this hill here just a normal green hill. Maybe this hill is resting this year and they haven't put a crop into it. And again, you can bring in a little bit of different colors of green where you want to maybe put a shadow. You can add that in while your green is still wet. Let's pretend there's a shadow there from the tree. Let's make this part here also a little bit darker. Okay, let's see, where else do I want to add green? I think definitely here in the forefront we can have some green, and in the middle ground. So let's have a look here. This green that I'm using now is sap green with a little bit of yellow ochre. Okay, let's add some more green over here. Here I've changed my color a little bit. I've added a little bit of Viridian green with the sap green, just a touch, just to give it a slightly different color. Okay, so now you can see we have our green. Okay, fantastic. So now let's see. Where can we put a bit of yellow green? So now we want to make it a little bit warmer. Maybe some of the fields are sun-kissed. Let's have a look. Let's grab some yellow. Let's add it here. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow ochre. Just to give it a more vibrant color. Okay, so now let's have a look. I'm going to make these lines the plowed fields. So now let's imagine this maybe is corn or maybe wheat. I think wheat might be better when it's ready for harvesting. Oh, maybe it could be canola flowers, so that maybe it's, we don't know, it's a crop. Okay, so we've got that nice color over there. I want to bring that color through somewhere on this side, so I think let's add that yellowy color over there also, and we can also add it here to the top of this hill, just to show that there is some variety and maybe it's sun-kissed. Okay, so let's have a look. I want to add in some sap green and yellow here to make it more vibrant. Okay, well, let's see, where can I put that? I'm going to put it right here in the forefront. So now remember, this can work together as one picture, or it can be chopped up in cards. It all depends what you want to do. Okay, so now let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of the Viridian green, which is more a cooler color, and I am going to do these trees. So you can see I'm basically just dropping a little drop on these trees here, and it's a darker color because the foliage of the leaves, maybe the trees are darker, maybe it's summer, high summer, and they all have good coverage. Okay, just like that. Okay, good. Here, over here, I have got some leakage of the green, so I'm going to make that work in my favor, and I'm just going to pull it like that and wipe it up to there. Okay, now let's see. Now I want to bring in some lavender or tulips, whatever we can grow in this field. So let's grab some of this amazing color over here. Okay, this is like a coral color. So let's have a look. We can do it here. I'm sorry if you are hearing any noises. My parents are somewhere in the house and I'm not sure what they are doing, but I can hear they are doing something. Okay, I hope you don't hear it. Yeah, my parents live with me. They've been living with me for 23 years. So they are fairly healthy. And unfortunately, they are getting very old. So sometimes it's sad to see how quickly they get older. Okay. All right, so now let's see. I want to bring this color in. I think it's going to look great in this field here where I have put down the yellow, so it could maybe be two different crops growing together. Let's see. It will give it a nice effect. And remember, if you go over the colors, over the lines, it's okay. It will just give it a great effect in the end. It will blend a little bit. What I always say about watercolor, don't try to contain it. It goes where it wants to go. Okay. Now my paper, it in the meantime has decided to buckle very nicely as well. So that is normal for watercolor paper. This is a 200-gram watercolor paper. And I'm actually surprised that it's buckling like this. Usually it doesn't buckle that much, but it's okay. We'll work with it. Okay, so what other colors can we add in here? How about some pink? So let's find a good pink. Okay, maybe we have got, let's see what pink this is here. Maybe it could be a field of heather, the pink heather. In our country, we have got fynbos. And I think you only get it in our country. And it is a beautiful, it's tiny pink, very hardy little flowers. It's like a bush, a small bush. So we can put it here. We can play with the colors over here. Maybe we can start with the heather and then it can go into maybe a brighter color. Oops. I see I have got something here on my paper that I don't want there necessarily. There we go, that's better. Okay. Alright, so now we can add some of the nice purple. So let's add the pink and purple together just to flow from the one color to the next. There we go, that is very nice. So maybe these can now also be like lavender or violet, whichever crop the farmer has decided to put here. Okay, I like the way that it's bleeding into the other one. It's giving a lot of texture and atmosphere. I also want to just drop a little bit more of this into the sky. I like this color also in the sky. It gives it a little bit more drama. Okay, cool. Now let's have a look here. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to grab my color pencils to use for the section here. So let me see, what do I want for the front here? I'm going to add some, have this green here. I'm not sure if I even know what green this is, but it is like a pale olivey color. Okay, so let's have a look. Let's put this in here. And I'm going to put more than one color so that I can just I think I'm going to add some yellow to it also. Now I'm very careful where I put my finger, so I have got my pinky so that I can stabilize my hand, even though I'm just putting color down very, very quickly. I always like to stabilize my hand, and I don't want my hand to actually rest on my painting, because then I can make a big mess. Okay, so let's just grab this yellow over here. Let's add some yellow just here and there. Okay, so that now nicely flows with that one. Let's have a look. I want to bring in some more greens over here. So let's grab just these 3 greens here. I'm so sad. When I was sharpening my pencils, I don't know why, but the whole casing, the wooden casing, split, and it's just on some of the pencils. I don't know why it is, and if maybe there was something wrong with my sharpener, if it's not sharp enough anymore, I'm not sure, but it was very sad when that happened. Okay, so let's see, let's start over here. I want to do this one here. Now you can see these colors are interesting. I'm going to just do some of the color here. I'm not coloring everything exactly to the ends, because I'm going to activate it with water, and it is going to run where it wants to. Okay, so now let's have a look. We have got some darker shades here. Let's put the darks over here to give it some more depth. Remember, you can also just make tiny flowers here in the foreground if you want to. You can basically do anything that you feel like. And what I also like about painting this way is that, remember, we are not creating a photograph. We are not creating a photocopy of an exact place. This is just a place in my imagination where I remember what it looks like when I drive through the countryside. Okay, so this is where we are now. Okay, so now let's see if I grab, I'm just going to use my water brush. This is the brush that I use when I travel. It contains water in the end. I just do this just to activate the water. There we go. So now I can just use this one. And you will see that the colors it picks up, it's got a slightly stiffer bristle, so I can move the color where I want it, which is nice. Sometimes you want to sometimes help the color where you want it, and it's giving a different texture to the rest, which is fantastic. And I've used the darker greens on the lines just to give it some illusion of shadows, and the highlights where maybe the sun is catching it a little bit more. Okay. All right. So I think I am going to finish the side here, and then I'm going to leave it a little bit to dry so that we can then finish off the houses and then start with the next one. All right. Thank you so much. And I see Floofy is still okay here with us, so maybe she will join us a little bit later. Okay. Floof? Okay, she's not responding. Okay. Thank you so much for being with me for this section, and I will see you soon. Bye.